who has sadly passed away, but his Adonis-like physique will be remembered forever and a day, as you can see there. With no roids involved here, that's just the natural aesthetic that Roger was able to acquire through, I'm not sure, boxing some bogans around.
Boxing some bogans around.
Possibly.
Okay. William, anyway, that was July 23rd. Luke won the Olympic Fruit Loops from Gates of Prayer. I just thought it happens every day. He won the boxing tournament. Luke won the boxing tournament for his Fruit Loop team. And he said he boxed a present. So he couldn't explain it well. But he won. Anyway, so
after you ask Jesus to bless. Jesus can't bless me. Yeah, and the guardian angel saved me. Yes, that's right. And can bless the baby and my mother and my gummy and my daddy. And Chief and Wesley. And
Biggie's his other grandmother. He won the prayer boxing championship today. Anyway, if you want to know what's going on in this lady's life, who's reading Joan of Arc. Inspired by Ripperger, brought to me by Rebecca of Barnes & Noble, very efficiently. So, the place where Ignatius Loyola's book came flying off the shelf into my hand when he was an infant, crawling around their shelves. The English fought they fought like the English. When that is said, there is no more to say. We made assault after assault through the smoke and flame and the deafening cannon blasts. And at last, as the sun was sinking, we carried the place with a rush and planted our standard on its walls. The Augustines was ours. The Tourelles must be ours too, if we would free the bridge and raise the siege. We had achieved one great undertaking. Joan was determined to accomplish the other. We must lie on our arms where we were, hold fast to what we had got, and be ready for business in the morning. So Joan was not minded to let the men be demoralized by pillage and riot and carousing. She had the Augustines burned with all its stores in it, excepting the artillery and ammunition. Everybody was tired out with this long day's hard work, and of course there was the case. Still, she wanted to stay with the army before the Tourelles to be ready for the assault in the morning. The chiefs argued with her and at last persuaded her to go home and prepare for the great work by taking proper rest and also by having a leech look to a wound which she had received on her foot. So he crossed with them and went home. Just as usual, we found the town in a fury of joy, all the bells clanging, everybody shouting, and several people drunk. We never went out or came in without furnishing good and sufficient reasons for one of these pleasant tempests. And so the tempest was always on hand. There had been a blank absence of reason for this sort of upheaval for the past 7 months. Therefore, the people took to the upheavals with all the more relish on that account. To get away from the usual crowds of visitors and have a rest, Joan went with Catherine straight to the apartment which the two occupied together. And there they took their supper, and there the wound was dressed. But then, instead of going to bed, Joan, weary as she was, sent the dwarf for me, in spite of Catherine's protests and persuasions. She said she had something on her mind, and must send a courier to Nancy with a letter for our old Père Français to read to her mother. I came, and she began to dictate. After some loving words and greetings to her mother and the family came this. But the thing which moves me to write now is to say that when you presently hear that I am wounded, you shall give yourself no concern about it, and refuse faith to any that shall try to make you believe it is serious. She was going on when Catherine spoke up and said, "Ah, but it will frighten her so to read these words. Strike them out, Joan, strike them out. And wait only 1 day, 2 days or most, then write and say your foot was wounded, but it is well again, for it will surely be well then, or very near to it. Don't distress her, Joan. Do as I say. A laugh like the laugh of the old days, the impulsive, free laugh of an untroubled spirit, a laugh like a chime of bells, was Joan's answer. Then she said, My foot? Why should I write about such a scratch as that? I was not thinking of it, dear heart. Child, have you another wound and a worse, and have not spoken of it? What have you been dreaming about? She had jumped up full of vague fears to have the leech called back at once, but Joan laid her hand upon her arm and made her sit down again, saying, There, now, be tranquil. There is no other wound as yet. I am writing about one which I shall get when we storm the Bastille tomorrow. Catherine had the look of one who is trying to understand a puzzling proposition, but cannot quite do it. She said in a distraught fashion, A wound? Which you are going to get? But why grieve your mother when it may not happen? May not? Why, it will. The puzzle was a puzzle still. Catherine said in the same abstract way as before, Will it? It is a strong word. I cannot seem to. My mind is not able to take hold of this. Oh, Joan, such a presentiment is a dreadful thing. It takes one's peace and courage all away. Cast it from you. Drive it out. It will make your whole night miserable and to no good. But we will hope. But it isn't a presentiment. It is a fact, and it will not make me miserable. It is uncertainties that do that. But this is not an uncertainty. Joan, do you know it is going to happen? Yes, I know it. My voice has told me. Ah, said Catherine resignedly. If they told you, but are you sure it was they? Quite sure? Yes, quite. It will happen, there is no doubt. It is dreadful. Since when have you known it? Since I think it's been several weeks, Joan turned to me. Louis, you will remember. How long is it? Your Excellency spoke of it first to the king in Chinon. I answered, That was as much as 7 weeks ago. You spoke of it again the 20th of April, and also the 22nd, 2 weeks ago, as I see by my record here. These marvels disturbed Catherine profoundly, but I had long ceased to be surprised by them. One can do anything in this world, Catherine said. And it is to happen tomorrow, always tomorrow? Is that the same date always? There's been no mistake and no confusion? No, Joan said. The 7th of May is the date. There is no other. Then you shall not go a step out of this home. So these awful days has gone by. You will not dream of it, Joan. Will you? That you will stay with us. But Joan was not persuaded. She said, It would not help the matter, dear good friend. The wound is to come, and come tomorrow. If I do not seek it, it will seek me. My duty calls me to the place tomorrow. I should have to go if my death were waiting for me there. Shall I stay away for only a wound? Oh, no. We must try to do better than that. Then you are determined to go. Of a certainty, yes. There is only one thing that I can do for France. hearten her soldiers for battle and victory. She thought a moment, then added, however, one should not be unreasonable, and I would do much to please you, who are so good to me. Do you love France? I wondered why she might be contriving what what she might be contriving now, but I saw no clue. CLEW. I swear it's CLEW. Catherine said reproachfully, ah, what have I done to deserve the question? Then you do love France. I had not doubted it, dear. Do not be hurt, but answer me. Have you ever told a lie? In my life, I have not willfully told a lie, fibs, but not lies. That is sufficient. You love France and do not tell lies. Therefore, I will trust you. I will go on, or I will stay, as you shall decide. Oh, I thank you from the heart. Oh, I thank you from the heart, Joan. How good and dear it is of you to do this for me. Oh, you shall stay and not go. In her delight, she flung her arms around Joan's neck and squandered endearments upon her, at least which would have made me rich. But as it was, it only made me realize how poor I was, how miserable poor in what I would most have prized in the world. He wanted to be hugged by Catherine. He loved Catherine. Joan said, then you will send word to my headquarters that I am not going. Oh, gladly. Leave that to me. It is good of you. And how will you word it? For it must have proper official form. Shall I word it for you? Oh, do. For you know about these solemn procedures and stately proprieties, and I have no experience. Then word it like this. The chief of staff is commanded to make known to the king's forces in garrison and in the field that the general in chief of the armies of France will not face the English on the tomorrow, she being afraid that she might get hurt. Signed Joan of Arc by the hands of Catherine Boucher, who loves France. There was a pause. A silence of the sort that tortures one into stealing a glance to see how the situation looks, and I did that. There was a loving smile on Joan's face, but the color was mounting in crimson into Catherine's, and her lips were quivering and the tears gathering. Oh, I am so ashamed of myself, and you so noble and brave and wise, and I am so paltry and such a fool. And she broke down and began to cry, and I did so want to take her in my arms and comfort her, but Joan did it, and of course I said nothing. Joan did it well and most sweetly and tenderly, but I could have done it as well, though I know it would be foolish and out of place to suggest such a thing, and might make an awkwardness too, and an embarrassment to us all. So I did not offer, and I hope I did right and for the best, though I could not know, and was many times tortured with doubts afterwards, as having perhaps lost a chance past which might have changed all my life and made it happier and more beautiful than it turned out to be. For this reason, I grieve yet when I think of their scene, and I do not like to call it upon up the deeps of my memory because of the pangs it brings. Well, well, a good and wholesome thing is a little harmless fun in this world. It, to- it tones a body up and keeps him human and prevents him from sorrowing. To set that little trap for Catherine was as good and effective a way as any to show her what a grotesque thing she was asking of Joan. It was a funny idea now, wasn't it? When you look at it all around. Even Catherine dried up her tears and laughed when she thought of it. The English getting hold of the French commander in chief's reason for staying out of battle. She granted that they could have a good time over a thing like that. Oh, man.